So how does an American base survive inside Cuba? Not near Cuba, not beside Cuba. Inside Cuba. Guantanamo Bay is not just a fence line, it is not just a harbor. It is not just a runway, it is a sealed military machine built to keep moving when everything around it becomes uncertain. But here is the real problem. A base like this cannot simply depend on the outside world. It has to protect its airfield, its port, its fuel, its water, its power, its roads, and its supply lines. Every piece matters. And if one piece slows down, the entire base feels it. Think about that for a second. A warship can move, an aircraft can leave, a convoy can change course. But Guantanamo cannot just sail away. It sits there, fixed in place, surrounded by geography, pressure, and distance. That makes its strength impressive. But it also makes its weakness very specific. The danger is not always a massive assault. Sometimes the real danger is smaller. A blocked pier, a damaged runway, a power disruption, a fuel delay, a broken water system, a perimeter alert at the wrong moment. One small failure can force the whole base to react. So what is the first shield? Is it the fence, the patrol road, the harbor, the runway, or is it something far less dramatic, like generators, water tanks, and logistics crews working behind the scenes? That is what makes Guantanamo so unusual. Its survival does not only depend on weapons. It depends on rhythm. Food must move, fuel must move, aircraft must move, ships must dock, guards must rotate, sensors must stay awake. And if that rhythm breaks, the base does not collapse instantly, but it starts bleeding time. So to understand Guantanamo, we cannot look at it like a normal base. We have to take it apart, layer by layer. Layer 1 is the perimeter. This is the skin of the base. Before anything reaches the harbor, runway, or power grid, it has to cross space. That space matters. Fence lines matter, patrol roads matter, checkpoints matter, even empty ground matters. Because empty ground gives the base time. If something moves near the edge, the question is simple. What is it? Where is it going? How fast is it moving? And how much time does security have? That is why the first layer is not dramatic. It is distance, visibility, and control. But a fence by itself does nothing. It only works if people watch it. It only works if sensors stay awake. It only works if patrols can move, so the perimeter is really a warning system. It tells the base when the outside world is getting closer. Then comes layer 2, the harbor. This is not just a place for ships. It is one of the base's lifelines. Fuel can come through here, equipment can come through here, supplies can come through here. Vehicles, spare parts, food, and cargo all depend on movement. If the harbor slows down, the base feels it, maybe not instantly. But the clock starts ticking. Every delay changes the rhythm. A ship waiting offshore is not just waiting. It is a supply chain losing time. And that creates the next question. What happens if the pier is blocked? What happens if cargo cannot move? What happens if the base has fuel, but not enough flow? A military base does not only need supplies. It needs supplies at the right moment. Now comes layer 3, the runway. This is the fast connection to the outside world. Ships are powerful, but they are slow. Aircraft can move people, equipment, and urgent supplies quickly. That makes the runway a pressure valve. If the base needs emergency transport, the runway matters. If it needs medical evacuation, the runway matters. If it needs to bring in specialists, matters. If it needs to keep contact with distant commands, it matters. But here is the weakness. A runway is a very specific kind of lifeline. It must stay clear, it must stay usable, it must stay coordinated. The runway stops working, the base loses speed. And speed is often what keeps pressure manageable. Then comes layer 4, the quiet layer. Power, water, fuel, and stored supplies. This is the part people forget. It does not look like defense. It does not look powerful. It does not make the base look intimidating. But without it, nothing works. Gates need power, lights need power, radios need power, pumps need power, refrigeration needs power, maintenance needs power, water systems need power. Even security depends on basic infrastructure. So how strong is a base without electricity? How useful is a fence without monitoring? How valuable is a harbor without fuel transfer? How important is a runway without the systems behind it? That is the hidden truth about Guantanamo. Its defense is not one wall, it is not one gate, it is not one runway. It is layers stacked on layers. Each layer buys time for the next one. The perimeter detects, the patrols respond, the harbor feeds the base. The runway gives it speed, the power grid keeps it awake, the water system keeps it alive, the fuel system keeps it moving. But this is where the problem gets interesting. The more layers a base has, the more links it must protect. That sounds strange, but it is true. Complexity gives strength, but complexity also creates pressure points, because what if nobody needs to break the whole base? What if the goal is just to disturb the rhythm? Not destroy everything, not overwhelm everything, just slow the right system at the wrong time. Imagine a problem at the outer gate. Security has to respond. Now imagine a delay at the harbor. logistics has to adjust. Then imagine the runway is temporarily restricted. Air movement slows down. Now add a power issue. Backup systems start carrying weight. Nothing has collapsed yet, but everything is working harder. That is the real danger. A base can look fine from above while struggling underneath. The map still shows a secure facility, but inside every section is adapting. Guantanamo is like a living body. The fence is the skin, the harbor is the mouth, the runway is the lungs, power and water are the blood, security is the immune system, logistics is the nervous system, and a body does not need total failure to suffer. One organ slows down, another compensates, then another takes more load. Soon the whole system is still alive but stressed. That is why defense is not just stopping threats. It is protecting rhythm. Food must move, fuel must move, water must flow, power must stay stable, patrols must rotate, ships must dock, aircraft must launch or land. If that rhythm holds, the base stays strong. If that rhythm breaks, the base starts losing time. And in a closed military environment, time is everything. So the real question is not just this. Can Guantanamo protect its walls? The better question is sharper. Can it protect the invisible systems behind those walls? Because if one layer is pressured, another can react. But what happens when several layers are pressured at once? Then the base enters its harder mode. Not panic, not shutdown, survival mode. And this is where the answer sounds simple. Just close the gates, secure the perimeter, and wait. But for Guantanamo, that is not enough. A closed base still has to breathe. It still needs power. It still needs water. It still needs food. It still needs fuel. It still needs medical care. It still needs communications. It still needs patrols moving on schedule. And it still needs a way to receive supplies. So here's phase 1. The perimeter locks down. Every gate becomes more important. Every access road becomes more important. Every watch position becomes more important. The base starts asking the same questions again and again. Who is moving? Where are they moving? Which route are they using? How close are they getting? This is not just about closing a fence. It is about controlling the space around the fence. Patrols have to keep moving. Checkpoints have to stay active. Cameras and sensors have to stay awake. Blind spots become dangerous. Slow communication becomes dangerous. Confusion becomes dangerous. Then comes phase 2. Protect the vital systems. This is the heart of the base. Power stations, water systems, fuel storage, communications rooms, supply warehouses, and command centers all matter. They may not look dramatic, but they decide how long the base can keep operating. If the lights stay on, the base sees. If radios stay active, the base coordinates. If pumps keep working, water keeps moving. If fuel stays available, vehicles keep rolling. If warehouses stay organized, people keep functioning. This is the strange part. The most important targets are not always the loudest. They are often the quietest. A fuel valve, a generator room, a water pump, a radio relay, a supply road. One small interruption can create a long delay. Now comes phase 3. Keep the harbor and runway open. These are not just transportation points. They are the base's airways. The harbor is the slow, heavy lifeline. The runway is the fast, urgent lifeline. One moves bulk, the other moves speed. If the harbor stays open, supplies can flow. If the runway stays open, help can arrive faster. If both stay open, the base has options. But if one slows down, the other feels pressure. If both slow down, the base becomes more isolated. So which one matters more? The answer depends on the crisis. If fuel and heavy equipment are needed, the harbor matters. If people and urgent parts are needed, the runway matters. If both are needed at once, the base starts making hard choices. Then comes phase 4. Switch to backup systems. This is where a base proves its resilience. The main system is never the whole plan. There must be backup power. Backup communications, backup routes, backup storage, backup procedures, backup teams. But backups are not magic. They buy time. They do not erase the problem. A generator can carry load, but fuel becomes more important. A backup radio can keep contact, but range and clarity matter. A secondary road can move vehicles, but traffic gets tighter. So the base becomes a closed fortress, but not a frozen fortress. Inside, everything still moves. Guards rotate, mechanics repair, medical teams prepare, logistics teams count supplies. Communications teams keep signals flowing. Security teams watch the perimeter. It becomes almost like a small city, but a city under pressure. Every normal function becomes a defense function. Food is defense. Water is defense. Fuel is defense. Maintenance is defense. Scheduling is defense. Even sleep becomes defense. Because tired people make slower decisions. Slow decisions create bigger problems. Bigger problems consume more resources, and resources are exactly what a closed base must protect. That is why endurance matters more than appearances. Guantanamo does not just need strong walls, it needs repeatable routines. It needs people to know their roles. It needs supplies to move without confusion. It needs every system to support another system. But now comes the harder question. What happens if the pressure is not one big event? What happens if it is several small events? Not enough to stop the base, but enough to pull attention everywhere. Imagine one perimeter alert. Security shifts toward the fence. Then a harbor delay begins. Logistics starts adjusting movement. Then the runway pauses operations. Air transport loses speed. Then a power problem appears. Backup systems start carrying load. Nothing has failed completely, but everything is now slower. The base is still standing, but it is spending time. It is spending people. It is spending fuel. It is spending attention. And attention is also a resource. That is the real overload problem. A large base can handle one issue. It can handle a second issue. It may even handle a third issue. But every issue forces coordination. Every coordination step takes time. Every delay pushes pressure somewhere else. This is how small problems become large problems. Not by destroying everything, by making everything work harder. A blocked access point creates a security response. A restricted pier creates a logistics response. A runway pause creates a transport response. A power issue creates an infrastructure response. Each response may be manageable alone, but together they create friction. And friction is the enemy of a base. It slows decisions, it burns fuel, it ties up personnel. It fills radios with traffic. It turns simple movement into controlled movement. That is why a cheap problem can create expensive pressure. The base may spend more to respond. It may move more guards. It may burn more fuel. It may delay more cargo. It may recheck more systems. It may secure areas that were already secure. The damage is not always physical. Sometimes the damage is tempo. The base loses rhythm, and once rhythm is lost, everything gets harder. The harbor slows, the runway slows, patrols stretch, maintenance stacks up, supplies wait longer. So the real fight is not just at the fence. It is inside the schedule. It is inside the supply chain. It is inside the command center. It is inside the generator room. It is inside every small system nobody notices. A strong base survives by staying coordinated. It survives by choosing priorities fast. First, protect life, then protect command, then protect power, then protect movement, then restore normal rhythm as quickly as possible. But what if every layer asks for help together? What if the perimeter needs guards? What if the harbor needs crews? What if the runway needs clearance? What if power needs repair? What if communications need backup? That is when Guantanamo becomes more than a base. It becomes a test of endurance. Not just who has stronger walls, but who can keep the machine running when pressure hits many gears at once. Now pull back and look at the map. Guantanamo is not moving. That is the key difference. A ship can turn away. An aircraft can relocate. A convoy can choose another route. But a fixed base has to hold ground. That sounds powerful. And it is. But it also creates pressure, because every fixed base has fixed connections. A harbor, a runway, a road network, a perimeter, a supply system, a communication system. These are not optional. They are the base's lifelines. So Guantanamo is not a choke point like a narrow strait. It is something different. It is a fixed military pocket. It has clear edges. It has defined access points. It has systems that must keep working. And it has no simple way to shift position. That is the strange geography of the base. It does not need to be surrounded by walls of water. It is surrounded by limits, limited routes, limited entry points, limited response space, limited room for mistakes. And when space is limited, timing becomes critical. If the harbor slows, the base loses flow. If the runway slows, the base loses speed. If the perimeter tightens, movement becomes harder. If power or water struggles, everything feels it. This is why a base cannot defend only outward. It must defend inward too. It must protect the systems that keep it alive. It must protect movement inside the wire. It must protect coordination between every layer. A warship survives by maneuvering. A base survives by enduring. That is a completely different kind of strength. It is less dramatic, but it may be harder. Because a base cannot dodge pressure. It has to absorb it. It has to keep operating. It has to keep feeding itself. It has to keep watching. It has to keep moving supplies. It has to keep people ready. So the real question becomes sharper. What is Guantanamo's true shield? Is it the fence? Is it the harbor? Is it the runway? Or is it the ability to keep all three working together? That is why Guantanamo should not be seen as just a base. It is a self-sustaining system under geographic pressure. Its strength is not only reaction. Its strength is continuity. If the lights stay on, it can see. If water flows, it can function. If fuel moves, it can respond. If the harbor works, it can breathe heavily. If the runway works, it can breathe fast. But if several systems slow at once, the question changes. Can the base stay coordinated? Can it keep rhythm? Can it prevent friction from becoming failure? And that is the final truth. In a real crisis, the most important part of Guantanamo may not be the tallest fence. It may not be the runway. It may not even be the harbor. It may be the quiet systems behind them. Power, water, fuel, maintenance, logistics. The invisible machinery that keeps a fixed base alive. Because Guantanamo does not win by moving, it wins by not breaking.